third is Suarez. Goodell comes running in. He's under it, makes the catch. Here's the throw to the plate. It's in the air. He is out! Cameron Rick hangs on! Oh, man, what a play! Deep to right field. Way up there and way out! Second
Well, this is a bittersweet podcast, I guess is the best way to put this, because the Phillies actually are playing pretty good ball. Went 5-1 this week, up to 7 games up over the Mets, and we're going to get into that because that can drastically change one way or another starting this week and over the next 2 weeks. But this really comes down to the fact that for the postseason now, the Phillies are going to be without who was considered their top starting pitcher heading into the season, and who was considered their top reliever at the time in the playoffs. So the ace and the closer back in March are both gone for the playoffs. And yes, you have Duran now here in the bullpen. You signed Robertson, so that's a little diminished, and Banks has just been playing out of his mind. But the Zack Wheeler news, out for the year, probably will miss next April too, but who really cares about that? This is going to suck, and they have to avoid that wild card round at this point. You cannot put extra innings on all of these pitchers from starter through the bullpen. And I just want to avoid a 3-game series because I'm not pretty much given an automatic W with Zack Wheeler anymore.
Yeah. Obviously when you hear blood clot, it's not ideal. Especially like reading up on everything. I don't think anybody at this point is more well versed on TOS than the city of Philadelphia. But there's I guess 2, one that affects the nerve and one that affects the actual vein. It's the better one in that sense. Obviously it's still 6 to 8 months, but Merrill Kelly had it and he came back and pitched fine. Whereas like Strasburg, Matt Harvey, a lot of those guys had the other one, and Strasburg never pitched again after it. So it's obviously something that it's good that the Phillies caught it relatively quickly. They were able to do the surgery and remove it. So that's good. First and foremost, like his health and everything, it seems like he won't be, too drastically affected. What pitching looks like after that, we don't know yet, obviously. But it seems like they nipped it in the bud. But I think it's, in terms of like this specific team in this season, the fact that it like happened right when Nola was coming back off of the IL, just the timing of it was ironic. Last Saturday, when they were in Washington, was when the news broke, and then Nola's first start back was Sunday morning, and the first 2 innings looked great, and then he gave up 6 runs in the blink of an eye. The most, like you were saying, avoiding that wild card round. Now they don't have a set righty in the rotation that you really, really trust. Obviously, we've seen Nola do it for the last decade, but this year specifically has not been good at all, really. So, this next month will be really important for him to get back to where it is. I was reading up the Matt Gelb article this morning about, Nola kind of stepping up and everything. He said that, one, I didn't specifically know the stats, but every team in the National League has really good numbers against left-handed starting pitching. I think
he did say that.
The Dodgers, the Cubs, and somebody else had like top 3.
I think it's the Padres.
But they were 9th and 10th. The Dodgers, the Cubs, and somebody else.
It has to be the Brewers then.
Brewers, yeah. The Brewers were all like top 3 in OPS against left-handed pitching. So like that's, if Nola's not good, then you're banking on a rotation of 3 lefties with Luzardo, who's been iffy, Ranger, who's been, really good. Today set his career high in strikeouts. And then obviously Sanchez, who I think we can kind of skip past in terms of the not trustworthy. I think we kind of know that Chris Sanchez is the guy now, especially since Wheeler's hurt. But like, you can't get by in this National League and the playoffs without a righty. The last team Gelb said to try and do that was the 11 Rangers, and they made it to the World Series. But 13 of 17 games they had starts were started by left-handed pitching. So like it's hasn't been done in 15 years. A team try and do that. So like it'll be interesting. I thought Noah looked better yesterday. I know he gave up the 2 home runs late, but he was up to 94. The curveball was really good early. I think they just started relying on it too much late. But I thought the stuff was good. You don't love the home runs just because that seems to be what always kills him. But overall, I felt that last Sunday when he gave up 6 runs, it was more so rust. And then yesterday, I thought the stuff was pretty good in terms of having me feeling confident for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying Nola needs to be good even before we knew Zack Wheeler was going to be out for the year. So they need him to be better. It's unfortunate that the Andrew Painter recovery has kind of gone the way it has, where you can't rely on him to give you some innings, as a starter for the rest of this regular season or be something for you in some capacity in the playoffs. That just doesn't seem like it's going to happen. So it's unfortunate that, we kind of went into this season thinking Wheeler, Alvarado, and Painter were all going to be on the playoff roster, and now we're going to be 0 for 3 on that. So not exactly, the greatest situation to be in, but I think the offense has picked it up a little bit. I was a little frustrated with how they were this weekend because I thought they had a couple chances to really attack this terrible Nationals bullpen and just didn't. They've seen these guys so much over the last week. I'm so glad to be done with the Nationals. But, Turner leads the league in hits. Schwarber, this was the first series he didn't hit a home run in since I think the middle of May or something crazy like that. Maybe not. No, it was June, I think. But so he's been on a tear. Harper, good games, bad games, but overall still pretty good. I mean, Real Muto is the big story, hitting way over 300 for the whole summer now. Just having him in that 4 spot, he's starting to get some power back to hit at the time what was a big home run on Friday night. And then it's just kind of like whatever you're getting from the rest of that group. Marsh has completely cooled off. Kepler's actually been decent when he's been in there. Bohm doing his normal hit or miss, a 3-run home run, or he's constantly bitching about strikes that are clearly strikes and striking out looking 3 times a game. I thought Stott has looked a lot better lately too. I think the platoon of him and Sosa at second has gone about as best as you could hope for recently. So lots to like with the offense, honestly. Need a little more consistency from some of these guys, but overall they've picked up the slack, and I mean they really beat up a really good Mariners pitching staff, both starting, rotation, and bullpen. I mean, guys in that bullpen with sub-2 ERAs, and they hit some big home runs off of those guys. So that was good to see, but now it's kind of you get yes, the Mariners are good and the Nationals are a scrappy team, but we know this team plays really good at home. Now I want to see in this post-Zack Wheeler world how they do when they go up to Queens, where we know they don't pitch well or play well overall. And this series this week, it's not going to totally make or break them, but I guess it could make them if they sweep them. Division would pretty much be over if they were up 10 with 29 to play, but I don't know if we're going to get to that point. This series is a big one, maybe not entirely from a standing standpoint, unless they also it went a sweep either way, but just to kind of see what they look like going on the road now without Wheeler.
Yeah, I guess I'll start. The offense has definitely looked much better. I think even like you said, Marsh has kind of come back to earth, but I feel like 6 through 9 consistently. I'm skipping 5 because it's Castellanos and he doesn't fall into this. But I feel like 6 through 9 consistently have been putting together good at bats, even if they don't always result in a hit.
Mm-hmm.
Like one Marsh, we talked about this before, but Marsh having the strikeout rate down to 25%. Before today where he struck out 2 or 3 times, but having that down drastically when his batting average on ball and play numbers are so good, like that's huge. But even when he's getting out, he's working deep at bats, seeing 5 or 6 pitches before making an outcome. So like that's just, especially when you get into these series later in the season and the playoffs, getting the guys bullpens and taxing them as soon as possible is just so big in terms of like games that are back-to-back days, 3 games in 4 or 5 days with how the off days line up. It's going to be huge because, we even see it now. It's like Duran's coming in on back-to-back days for us now. Kirkring's coming in on back-to-back. Like if you get to a point in the playoffs, like people will start to show little nicks in the armor where these bullpen guys get worn down and they're not as effective. So I think Stotts had better at bats. It's been going around on social media a lot, but they've tweaked his stance a bit, and where his hands are kind of at, they remind me a lot of like modeling that off of Lindor a little bit. Like it's similar to Schwarber's hand position, but Schwarber's really, really handsy with the way that he kind of hitches a bit, whereas Lindor's a lot more compact from having those hands around the letters. And I think they're kind of taking that approach and just simplifying things for Stott because it seems like the biggest thing with him was that he was late on fastballs and getting under them and popping them up. So if they're reducing that hand movement, it might be kind of a trigger to get him more on time with velocity, especially up in the zone.
Yeah,
And
the flyouts to the left have definitely dumbed down a little bit.
Yeah, like it just seems like they kind of relaxed his stance a bit. And because he was a big bat wiggler, like on his shoulder. Like there was a lot of movement with the bat.
Remember that.
Just like lowering his hands a bit and keeping the bat closer to him. It just keeps his hands more connected to his body and lets him be on time for fastballs that are up in the zone. And you can kind of see the numbers reflect that. It seems like he's being a little bit more confident too and aggressive earlier in the count, knowing that he's not going to get blown by later in the count. So like all in all, that's been a really big adjustment for them. And like you said, JT is playing himself into a lot of money in the offseason, which is a topic for another day. We don't have to get into that now. But having, obviously he's at 10 or 11 home runs. Like it's never going to be that 20 home run righty power bat in the middle of the line again. But like as long as he can keep this up where he's posing a threat to, hit a ball in the gap or even just get on base and, like give Bryce some sort of protection where if they walk him, all of a sudden it's a single and you have first and third, as opposed to, they walked Bryce and Castellanos is swinging at, Whitaker pitches in the dirt. Like having JT at least like be this average on base with double potential is just so drastic in terms of the complexion of the lineup. So like, yeah, it's been really good. They took it to the Mariners who, I believe before that series you said, why can't we be as well-rounded as the Mariners are?
I mean,
and
they're well-rounded. Okay.
And then all of a sudden after the series, it's, we don't do anything against good teams. So goalpost move there a little bit from PSU everything, but I digress. The offense has been great, picking up the slack as the Wheeler news kind of broke out. And I think we might have talked about this a little bit in the group chat, but I hope this wasn't like the kick in the ass that they needed, like Wheeler having this kind of injury where it's like, oh, wow, we wasted 2 years with Zack Wheeler putting up like the best playoff numbers ever. Yeah. We don't have that guy anymore. Maybe we should start hitting because, like, if that's the case, great in the sense that maybe they'll, snap into it and, try and be more like cherish every at bat, kind of like give it more meaning. But at the same time, it's like
That's how I feel.
It's just like it makes the last 2 years even more frustrating, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I wish the thing that I hate that it may have been this that got them going. I would have preferred like Kevin Long getting fired or Bohm getting traded, something like that. This is like the worst case scenario in terms of things that you'd want to galvanize them. But
Yeah.
here we are. We really there's no other choice at this point. Yeah, but I mean, like Real Muto, this team still does not have a perfect cleanup hitter to properly protect Bryce Harper. Just my gripe at the trade deadline. It's been the gripe for a couple years now, but he's at least giving them something. So it's better than what was happening. So I can't hate it there. And Bohm is incredibly frustrating, but him coming back does lengthen this lineup so much more. Otto Kemp was starting to get ugly. He was kind of figured out. I just don't know if he was taking the grind every day, of everyday ball up in the majors. It looked like it was starting to weigh on him. So regardless of what we may think of Bohm, it is a better situation than what we were working with. And on a non-offensive topic, Taijuan Walker is so interesting to me because the blow up, like Friday, he gives up the 3-run bomb in the first inning, and you think, okay, here it is, the blow ups here. We're getting the old guy back, and then he made it through five innings, didn't give up another run. He's kept them in so many games, and Duran doesn't blow that game in the 9th. Everyone's talking about how Taijuan Walker kept them in the game and gave them a chance to win after an ugly first inning. And there's so many times this has happened this year. I remember like the Yankees game, he gave up a bunch of solo shots, but he still got them to a point where it was close, and then the offense took over. And I don't know how I feel about him in the playoffs yet, but he's at least doing enough to help them get a good playoff positioning because he is keeping them in games, and more often than not, they are coming through to win those games. So I just keep waiting for the blow up to happen, and it's not happening. It's just it's so interesting.
It's a little bit what we saw 2 years ago when he won 20 games.
He won like 15 games, yeah.
But the first inning is bad, where he gives up, like you said, those few solo home runs. But then, you blink and he's giving you, 5 1/3 or 5 2/3, and it's just those 2 runs, like a few strikeouts here and there, but like more than quality start for, especially, given what your expectations are, at the start of the season. But even now, it's like the numbers aren't like terrible. I think I don't think he really factors into the playoff pitching rotation outlook too much. But like you said, he's doing, everything that he can to get them there. And like we talked about earlier, like saving innings on these guys that are going to throw meaningful innings in the playoffs, like he's doing that. So there's that. The Baseball Savant page still isn't good. The off-speed pitches still have, terrible value. But like I guess you can get by with them for the rest of the season. I guess we'll see. But they're in a good spot now. Obviously, this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday will be huge. Like you said, if they can get to even like win 2 and get it to 8 games with the Mets, you kind of set it up. But like you said, I think the bye is pretty crucial at this point in terms of not even keeping innings off guys, but just setting up the rotation the way that you want to set it up. Like having, Sanchez lined up for game 1 and having all of your horses ready in the bullpen for those games 1 and 2, as opposed to taxing them in a wild card. And then if it goes 3, you might not have everyone as fresh or lined up the way that you want them to be. And right now we're 2 games up on San Diego for the bye. They're the 3rd division leader. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they still have some games left against the Dodgers. Oh, no, they don't. I'm looking at their schedule right now. they have a lot of games against Colorado and the White Sox left. So
Yeah.
they have Minnesota, Baltimore, Colorado, Cincinnati, Colorado, Mets, White Sox, Milwaukee. That's a lot of bad teams. So
Yeah.
Walker's going to be really important down the stretch. It's not like, our schedule is not crazy, but 4 against Atlanta with Chris Sale coming off the IL this weekend, of course, as the Braves are not surging because they're still like 10 games under, but they
look a lot better than they did.
We know how the Braves are. They'll give us a problem just because they have to be difficult.
But Austin Riley's out, and he's the one that really kills us. So
especially he really kills Nola.
Yeah. So a little positive there, I guess. But
yeah, but Walker's gonna have to keep going if they want that bye. So it'll be interesting to see where he's at in a month, like what the numbers look like.
So the final thing I wanted to touch on. What are we doing with Romano and to a lesser extent now Ross here? I don't know, like, are those guys in AAA, they're not that much worse at this point. I told you, I don't know the deal with Lou Trevino if he's allowed to be in the playoffs, because I think I don't know if you have to be in the organization on a certain date. I think he might have been beyond that. But like dudes like Phil Bickford even that are down in AAA. A couple of the guys we saw earlier this year, that Daniel Robert guy who I'm not crazy about, but I think he's better than Romano. It's just like, what are we doing here? I don't get why he's here. I don't. And, is when the roster expands and you get an extra pitcher, are you going to bring one of these guys up and it's pretty much going to be a competition between them and Romano for who gets the playoff spot? But I cannot have this guy in playoff games. I can't. The back-breaking home runs constantly, and they're always multi-run home runs. They are grand slams. They are 3-run shots.
He looks shocked every time. Like, he can't believe that the ball found the 10th row of the stands, even though it happens like clockwork every time.
He looks like shell shocked, like literally, like actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me ask you this question. Now, I'm sure he is, but have you seen any proof of life of Romano since they said he got a haircut? I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen a picture.
Since he got a haircut?
Matt Gelb tweeted out 2 days ago that Jordan Romano had a haircut, and there's been no proof of life since then.
I was going to say, he hasn't pitched.
Yeah. Like,
I mean, all 3 of those games were ridiculously close.
No, like you said, I don't know how, because Trevino and Bickford were both midseason waiver ads.
Bickford was earlier. He's already played in 30-something games for Lehigh Valley.
Right. I don't know how it works, but like even guys like Griff's been really good lately, and I know that.
Yeah, he's starting for Reading right now, actually.
Right. He's been really good as a starter. So like they've kind of moved him around a lot, and he's finally gotten some sort of like consistency down in AA, similar to Abel last year. So
I just don't get why are we still doing the starting thing with Griff McGarry?
Yeah, he's not a starter.
He's 26 in AA, and they're trying to make him a starter. Why isn't he in Lehigh Valley out of the bullpen right now?
Yeah, I don't get it, but like he's been really good with pretty good strikeout numbers. I'd love to see him come up and throw the sinker out of the bullpen. I think it would be effective. I'm not like fully convinced we won't see Painter come out of the bullpen because he's been pitching better as of late, but I don't know. They're pretty firm in saying that they're not going to do that. But yeah, I'd love to see just like anybody other than Joe Ross and Jordan Romano.
Yeah, and like I get it. Like, if it's a close game, they wouldn't be in anyway. And it's just like we saw it the other day against the Mariners. He's taken 5-6 run games and made them save situations in the blink of an eye. Like
you can only bring them in a lopsided game if you're losing the lopsided game. Like, if you bring them in a lopsided game that you're winning, you're not going to feel comfortable.
Right. Even if it's a playoff game and you're up by 8 in the 6th or the 7th, and he comes in, all of a sudden it's a 5-run game and you still need 9 outs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's where I'm just like, I don't get it. It was a bad signing. We on the kind of off-season recap pod we had, I know we kind of talked about getting a lot out of him because it was a make or break kind of situation for him with the contract, trying to bounce back health-wise. But I don't think he's not going to be in the major leagues next year. He's going to be in Korea. I mean, he's not going to get signed.
Yeah, we've seen this a lot with Dombrowski in the sense that it's tough for him to accept failure, that his signings were bad.
Yeah.
And they finally kind of.
That's what made him so good in 2022 and made that team so good, was that he accepted they made a lot of mistakes.
Well, those weren't his though. That was the past regime. That Didi wasn't his signing, and Familia, I guess Familia was, but like Didi was the high money one there, and that.
Yeah, I mean, it was his idea, I think, also to have Herrera back around, but
yeah, but like he's shown reluctance with like the Kimbrels and the Knables and all this nonsense of keep throwing these guys out there when they clearly don't have it.
Yeah.
So, they bent the knee a bit with moving Kepler to the bench as a platoon, and he's been hitting better because of that. But they're showing reluctancy to do that with Romano. Obviously, he's buried to completely low leverage situations, but like the topic that you brought up, like he shouldn't even be in those. He's so bad. There's just no positives of him coming into games.
Yeah, like I said with the playoff thing, but I don't know. Like, I think Lou Trevino was too late, but like Phil Bickford interests me more than Romano does at this point. I'd at least like to see it, because if your rationale is, well, Romano's not going to be a big spot anyway. Okay, then why is he here?
Yeah.
Try someone else and see if you get more out of them. And then all of a sudden, maybe you have another arm you can trust in the bullpen. And if it's the same exact thing as Romano, then okay, that's what Romano was going to be anyway. So who cares?
Yeah.
I just don't get, and we'll see how September comes, but I don't think we're seeing Justin Crawford, who hit another home run today. They tweaked Rojas's swing. I don't know if you saw that. His stance is different.
Yeah, he can keep doing that against AAA pitching.
Yeah. Yeah. But I don't think we're seeing Crawford. I guess I owe Aiden Miller a bit of an apology. He's been really good since the trade deadline. Now, the thing that worries me is, is he made for Philadelphia if something like the trade deadline is going to be why he's playing that bad as he was for a month?
Yeah, I had that thought too. Like the fact that it seems like every year he kind of picks it up at the end of August or like middle of August, and everyone was saying like he survived this trade deadline. So like at this point, it's kind of, if they didn't trade him for this core this year, they're not going to trade him. It's like, well,
right. So next year I better see it in April.
If he didn't need this, or if he needed that much reassurance that I don't know, dude, play better so that you become untouchable. Not, I'm hitting 200 because I'm nervous. Like I don't love it. I think the player is good. I think the profile is good.
The profile is interesting because I think like a lot of people were given like Alex Bregman comps when he came out, but now it's like not like the stolen base thing's interesting. He's going to steal close to 60 bases this year.
Yeah, it's weird. The profile coming out was home runs and speed, but not like crazy stolen base speed. And now it's like you said, he's stolen 30 bases like every season, and the home runs aren't necessarily there. Yeah. But like as the stats kept getting worse, he keeps jumping up prospect boards. So I don't like ESPN has him over Painter as the number 10 prospect in baseball.
I don't know if ESPN actually has a scouting department.
Kylie McDaniel's pretty good in terms of like draft stuff, but like to jump Painter is pretty drastic. I know Painter hasn't had like the best year, but the last month has been much better. But like to jump him, it's been That's pretty aggressive. So I mean, I obviously hope it's the case. As many top end prospect talent guys that you can have in the system, obviously the better. But yeah, I'm kind of with you where if we need that kind of reassurance out of a guy who's been here in the system for 2.5 years, that's a little interesting with how it's going to go in this city.
Yeah, that worries me a little bit. I mean, he's looked awesome since, but it can't keep being this way. So we'll see how next year goes, I guess, because I'd say he starts in AAA, right? Yeah.
I'd say so. He'll probably get the last week of the season this year since AA ends before it,
Mm-hmm.
and then go from there.
Yeah, and plus Lehigh Valley's probably going to have a pretty deep playoff run, too.
You think? I didn't think they were that high up in the standings.
No, Lehigh Valley, they have like 73 wins, I think. Let me see. Lehigh Valley is 73-52.
Oh, damn.
They're fourth in the international. Wait, oh shit! Hang on, this has not been updated in a while. Whoa,
they're pretty below like Scranton and the Mets, right?
yeah. So I forgot they cut down like the freaking minor leagues. It's like 2 seasons or something from a standing standpoint. So they're not as good in the second half as they were in the first half, but should still make the playoffs, I think. I don't know how many teams make the playoffs, but
yeah, I have no idea.
I think they'll make a run. We'll see. So that'll help him too if he gets to play in that. But back to the major league team. Interesting weeks coming up here. As we mentioned, got this big series at the Mets, and then all of a sudden they're right back home, which is bizarre. Not a lot of travel going on right now, and I know they have a West Coast trip left, so we'll take it. But then we got the Braves back home. That road trip out west with the Dodgers and Diamondbacks. I know the Diamondbacks stink, but we never play good out there. So I am keeping my eye on that one just as much as these Mets games. But you got Milwaukee too, at Milwaukee. Obviously, we know it did not go well at all when Milwaukee came here. Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be an interesting next couple of weeks. The end of the season is a little more of a soft landing. A lot of home games against some bad teams, but
that
Milwaukee
series is weird. They're playing on Labor Day and then off on Tuesday.
I think Major League Baseball wants to playing on Labor Day.
Finally.
Yeah, I don't know. That's odd because like they didn't go out of their way to make an effort for Memorial Day and the 4th of July. So I don't know why the Labor Day effort. Maybe I don't know if it's a Milwaukee thing. I don't know, but yeah, that is a little weird. All right, so we will be back maybe after the Braves series. We'll see how things go, but we'll be back before. Well, no, we'll be back then.